Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Horror 421, the podcast, with your host, your friendly small-town horror author, Charles Campbell. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the frights in this week's episode.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Horror 421, the podcast. I am your host, small-town horror author Charles Campbell, and today we have a very special guest. He's a friend of the show. He was on a couple seasons ago, and I am so happy to have him back. He's got a lot to talk about today. I can't talk today. Welcome back, David O'Hanlon.
Thank you, Charles. It's definitely been an eventful year. From December, I was ready to sell my laptop and just give it all up, and now I've got March, April, May, and June stories have already come out on Weekly Spooky. Coach Rob Fields has a miniseries this month here in July, so I'm not doing anything this month. I'm kicking off August with a new short story and ending August with a new short story on Weekly Spooky. We're doing one for the end of summer and one for back to school. It's kind of been like a crazy trip from not being able to write. Like we were talking about off camera, it's the year anniversary of my house catching on fire. So, insurance adjusters came in and said, this is what the landlord's going to do. So pack everything up, and y'all are going to be living out of boxes for the next couple of months. And I ended up going from July to October before it was finished, and most of the stuff didn't get done, so I was working on repainting the house and cleaning the soot myself and all kinds of fun things that kind of took me out of being able to contribute last year. So by the time December rolled around, I was like, I'm just not even going to do it anymore. And February rolled around, and I was like, hey, I got an idea.
That's how it works, man. I'm glad... like I said off camera, I'm glad you and your family didn't get hurt physically in the fire. I know you had a lot of rebuilding to do and some things to put your lives back together, but from a physical, standing on earth, breathing standpoint, we're glad you made it.
It was the wall opposite where my son sleeps is where the fire started. So was in the moment, it was like, I've been in a fire before, I've been in scary situations before, it wasn't too bad. Then, afterwards, though, the fire department was leaving, we're walking through the burned out unit, and you see where the fire started, just directly opposite where his head is while he's sleeping. Oh, wow. So, that was a lot scarier in the aftermath than it was in the moment.
Right. Oh, man. I couldn't even imagine. Now, it's been a couple seasons since you were on the podcast, and we've gained a few more listeners since then. If you could kind of give my listeners a recap on your backstory, kind of bring us up to speed if they didn't hear you the first time, how you came up in horror, what inspired you to start writing, and then we'll talk about your more current stuff. But let's get a little backdrop on you again.
So when I was a kid, I read, the Babysitter, Boxcar Children series, and the first 5 or 6 books of those were really good. Goosebumps, things like that. But then it started getting into adult novels, and never really find anything I like. My dad would be giving me Michael Crichton and stuff. I'm like, yeah, this is cool, but I just want the dinosaurs, man. I don't care how they got the dinosaurs. So it's things like that, and I found. Occasionally I've come across a book, Chuck Bainbridge's The Hardcore was one that really resonated with me at a young age. But once I was 17, I discovered Matthew Riley's Ice Station, and I got hooked on it. I was like, people can write the stuff I want to read, and if they're not going to, I'm going to. And without so much as a clue, I decided I could be a writer. And that went on for a few years, and I kind of push it off to the side, and then kind of get back into it again. And I started off getting serious about it probably about 11 years ago, 12 years ago. I was like, I'm an action writer. That's what I do. And then everything I turned in, it was either just straight up horror or horror adjacent. It didn't matter what I was trying to do, if it was sci-fi or if it was military fiction. It always ended up with somebody getting horribly maimed, or a monster coming out that you didn't even know was going to be in there. And finally I just had to kind of cave in and be like, no, this is what I am. I'm a horror writer. And it's you look at my film taste and stuff, and film, of course, is the biggest influence on me. I spend more time than I don't with the horror genre. I still watch a lot of sci-fi, a lot of action, especially martial arts movies. It's been a big part of my life as well. But I almost always, it's like, end of the day, I'm tired, I'm putting on Puppet Master 4 again. It's like, I've seen it 700 times, but that's not going to stop me from enjoying it. So it kind of ended up just like, have to like, be who you are and kind of fall into line with my horror inclinations, and started off kind of like clueless and just kind of writing things. And we had a critique group here ran by Brad Carter. He does all the novelizations, most of the novelizations, I should say, for Severin Films. So he just did Hard Ticket to Hawaii and Malibu Express. Just came out on Kindle. I'm not sure when the prints are coming out. And then right before that, he did Virus, based off Hell of the Living Dead. So he was able to actually get the original screenplays, talk with the original screenwriters, and really do the book the way the movie would have been had they had a budget, instead of being another Bruno Mattei low budget zombie flick. So he's done that. He's done Rats, Cruel Jaws. He kind of like took me in and started teaching me everything. Like the first story I submitted was just a flash piece called it was Curse of the Cannibal King or Birth of the Cannibal King, something like that. So even going back then, I had an unhealthy fascination with cannibalism. So I submitted that, and he gave me his notes. Like one of the notes was like, "This reminds me a lot of Robert E. Howard," and I was like, "Man, I don't know if he's telling me I'm really good or if I should, hurry up and die before I'm 30." Turns out it was the former. So he kind of showed me everything and like beat me over the head repeatedly, like, "Stop doing this. That's not how you frame dialogue. No, you're still using passive verbs." And it's really got me into gear where I can actually write things that people would enjoy reading, not just that they could read. So I kind of published a few things, like little short stories here and there, and it was just kind of, I wanted to prove to my kids, like, if I can do this, like anything you want to do, you're going to be able to do it. It's like I barely even went to school. So and here I am getting published by actual publishing houses, not just doing it myself. I wanted to.
Right.
The first ones especially, I wanted to be able to say somebody else saw something in this. And once I got that box checked off, I was like, all right, now I can publish my own stuff. Now I don't have to worry about what they think is okay. So, I did that, and Colors in Darkness came along, and they really gave me a chance. They really put me on when nobody else would. I was still really green, and they came out with Forever Vacancy anthology, and I worked on that. They did their second one. Now they invite me back. They asked me to help edit and select the stories for it. So those women have always been like a major part of my horror journey and my publishing journey. And then it's kind of just like more of the same, just kind of publishing my own stuff or working on my own stuff with the intention of publishing it, and then got lucky and stumbled on to Weekly Spooky through a local podcaster named Vic Sage. And he knew Dan Wilder, and Dan asked for some stuff, and I think the first story we dropped was The Faithful, like 5 years ago, and the pandemic hit, and that opened up the doors for Babysitter Massacre, the book series.
Yeah, I was gonna roll into that in just a second. I have the 4 books that you have put out. I'm gonna be honest. I've only read 2 of them. I have 2 left to read. Been busy writing my own shit, so.
Yep.
But we've got. I think this was the first one.
Yep. Daddy's Little Killer.
Daddy's Little Killer. The covers are pretty cool. They're really good throwback covers. I really enjoy them, and the stories are highly entertaining. So you can definitely check these out at henflix.com. I think he still has these up for purchase.
Yeah, so.
And I think he even has a block where you can get the whole entire series. I'm 90% sure that's the case.
Yeah, you'll definitely. They're all standalone. But especially the third one ties back to the first, so that if you've read all of them, you're going to enjoy them a lot more.
I'm going to show you all the covers for all these bad boys, and if you want to talk about any of them in particular, you're more than welcome to.
So one thing I tried to do with this was like him gave me very broad parameters. He was like, you can do whatever you want. It's babysitters, murder, and probably throw in some tits for good measure. And I was like, okay, I could do that. So, all 4 of them, I tried to kind of dive into a different side of the slasher films. So Daddy's Little Killer is very giallo in nature. Family Splatter is a very personal story for me. Deals a lot with my own childhood and the kind of the stuff that messed my head up and makes me write these things in the first place. So it's more transgressive, more along the lines of like the new age or the new French extremity stuff from the early 2000s. You know, Inside, High Tension, Martyrs.
Yeah. I watched all those.
Frontiers.
Yep.
So
Got them all on DVD, actually.
yeah. So I took a lot of influence from those for that one. It was very, like I said, it was a very cathartic story to write. So a lot of stuff I've never talked about, I kind of got to put into words a little bit. Then with the third one, I wanted to tap into that 80s body count film. That late 80s golden age of the slasher. Jason Lives kind of thing.
Yeah.
And really kind of dive into just having fun with the characters and a little bit more tongue in cheek than the others.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed all of the covers, but I think this is my favorite cover. Murder Cove.
Yeah, Murder Cove was one I put a lot of rather, I had a lot to say about the cover on that one. I was like, I want to go back. I want to do this thing where maybe it's a prequel. It's like kind of up in the air. It could be, like a reason why the babysitters are just kind of cursed as a profession. And so I wanted to go back to the 80s, but I wanted to bring in like the meta slasher feel of like the Final Destination films with that one. So a lot of the kills are just kind of happening as this entity messes with the environment around them. And I was like, it's got to have a Back to the Future reference. It's like, as far as like non-horror films go, I think that's the one I've seen the most times. I was like, give her the Back to the Future vest, the headphones. I was like, a big 80s hair.
Oh, yeah. Out of the 4 that have been released so far, do you have a favorite, or are they all pretty much...
Ooh, they're all they all have a lot of meaning, but I think Murder Cove is probably the most well-rounded out of all of them. It definitely captures the fun and sleaze of Camp Carnage. It has the just kind of doomcore feeling and dread of Family Splatters. It still keeps the thrills going like Daddy's Little Killer. So I think overall, in terms of just writing quality, the 4th one's probably my favorite. For sheer enjoyment, though, I actually like to reread Camp Carnage.
Okay.
That one was just like every character in there I had a great time with. The model for the cover is actually Instagrammer. I think she's retired from it now, but she always had great cosplay stuff on there. And I was like, hey, is it cool if you use your face for this? Like, she did like all kinds of like cosplay stuff where she'd play the final girl and have Jason killing her or chasing her or whatever. And I was like, can I please use something like this for the cover? So she gave us the okay, and we got it sent off to the artist, and he did a wonderful job with it and just really captured the kind of zaniness that I was shooting for with that novel.
Well, that's some cool shit, man. I'm going to segue into something that you said. I'm looking at my note. Henrik said you could announce some news around Babysitter Massacre. So share the news. We've got 4 books out. Is there going to be a 5?
There's definitely a 5th one. It's actually been written for a while. There's been a lot of setbacks. Our cover artist had some medical issues, and a bunch of personal drama and just financial stuff, and kind of been on the back burner. And of course, him just started working on a whole batch of new films since then. So we've been both pretty busy with everything else, and it's kind of been on hiatus. So we don't have a set date yet, but it is finished. It's been edited. I might make another run through just to see if there's anything I want to touch up, since it's been a while since I looked at it. It's unlike anything I've done before. I can't think of anything I've seen like it before. It's just crazy story. The working title is Bad Baby, and it is a nasty bastard. the whole book is just kind of like, all right, if this shocks you, then wait till you see what I can do next. And there's some parts where, like, after I wrote it, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna get away with this one. And I'd be like, hey, what you think, man? Like, is this
Written by Enrique Couto.
Yeah, it's like, yes, that's okay.
Use a pen name. There you go. Nice, nice. Now, we did talk about Weekly Spooky a little bit, and I'm a contributing author to that as well. Not as often as you or Rob or Bruce, because I'm, like you, busy writing books in between, so I don't have time, and I've got, family shit I got to take care of. But anyway, I digress. But you said you have 4 shorts between now and Halloween. Are those all Weekly Spooky shorts? And
Yes.
Can you talk about those a little bit? Kind of what they're about without giving them completely away. But
yeah, so this year I like to have a new challenge with every project I take on. So it's like I don't get pigeonholed into doing the same kind of story over and over again. And oftentimes I don't even know what the hell I'm going to do. Taking Lives by the Horns, I did a couple years ago. I sat down to write a ghost story, ended up about cows tripping balls on hallucinogens and killing an entire town. So shit just kind of happens when I start writing. But I like to have like some kind of plan and some kind of like challenge each time. And this year I came up with a really good idea, and Hen was on board. And I started getting my notes together for. I was like, man, I'm overshooting. Like, I can't do this. I was like, it's too much for the audience to keep up with. I said, but I got another idea. I hate when movies say based on a true story, because it doesn't matter how ridiculous it is. Somebody's gonna be like, can you believe that really happened? Like, no, I can't. I can't believe that shit at all. But growing up, a lot of my family was from Texas, or at least lived there for large chunks of time, and all of them had like this whole like memory of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre really happening, and be like, oh yeah, it was based on this thing that happened when I was in high school, and everybody had like the idea that this really occurred, and I wanted to show just how far I could go with that. And so everything I'm doing this year is based on a true story, and I'm going to push those boundaries as far as I can. So like we started off with the Ship of the Cannibal Rats, and we did SS Death Glamp. Let's see what we did. Gator Boy of Dead or Swamp. That was, March, April, May. In June we did Stay Hungry, the Cocaine Hippo story. So we'll kick it off August with Fortune Falls, which is a gritty, nasty 70s slasher style. Not quite a spit on your grave, but headed in that direction. It's inspired by the Klein Falls axe attacks. Actually happened a few years difference from when the story takes place. I try to change a few things when it's kind of recent and anybody might still be around, be triggered, or take it as like an insult that I'm doing it. So I did play with that one a little bit, and then end of August we're doing my back to school story, Academia Demonia. This is based on a case that came out of, I believe it's Venezuela. Venezuela and Indonesia both at the same year had a rash of mass possessions in their schools, and I was like, that's too good not to do something.
Yeah, that's pretty.
So that's my back to school. We're gonna have some demonic high schoolers, more so than a normal high schooler, anyways. So we got September. This actually came from my original idea. We're gonna go back to Kudo Basin, Ohio. Finally, we're going to go back with a prequel story. This one takes place in the 40s. Wow. It's definitely a different kind of, it's slasher-ish, but it's something new that I don't think anybody's really going to expect. So we got that one coming. Then in October, we have a short story coming, which actually I did finally write a damn ghost story. I made it through the whole thing, and it's under 4,000 words, which are two things that just Hen did not even think I was capable of, and honestly, neither did I. So I'm really excited for that one. I think it came out really well, and it was actually kind of an accident. Like, I didn't even plan on doing that one. I planned on doing a different story for the short, and that ended up turning into a novella, and that was kind of like my big my big contribution this year, and probably through at the beginning of next year as well, is I wrote the new novella called Modern Taste. And best way to describe this is it's My American Psycho. It's definitely more satirical than anything I've written before. It definitely has a lot to say if you're willing to pay attention. If you're not, you just want to listen, I mean, it's still a just absolute blast. It's great, just back and forth with the characters. They're much more grounded, and it's not so over the top and visceral as I normally write. It's much more character driven. And got to really experiment with some new things that I've kind of wanted to do and just never been able to do in the short format. So this gave me a little bit more padding, so you can just kind of see every character in the story from their own perspective, and also you always see them from somebody else's. And like everything else, this was based on an actual criminal case that happened. So kind of keep that in mind. Give yourself something to chew on while you listen. It's a blast. People love it. Like, I've already got notes for 2 more of them.
Oh, wow.
So I'm really excited with how this one came out. I've sent a few advanced reader copies out, and I've gotten great feedback on it. So I'm definitely anxious to see what the spookies think. So we got that coming, and then we're going to do some more of the true stories, November, December. November, I'm bouncing a couple of different ones. Whichever one gets finished first will probably take the November slot. December is actually going to be a prequel to a story I wrote, I want to say 3 years ago, called A Few Cold Ones. It was a New Year's Eve story and introduced Otis Kilgore, the laughing psycho. Hen did such an amazing job with that character and getting that cackle correct.
Yeah, I remember that. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was a really, really fun story. I wanted to go back to that character so many times. And with doing the true stories and Christmas coming up, I was like, man, like Ronald Gene Simmons from here in Arkansas is like one of the most notorious family annihilators of all time. I was like, his story kind of falls in line anyways with what I set up for Otis because of his Christmas rampage. So I was like, yeah, I can still slip this in and do something tied to what I did before, but still have that, based on a true story. So Otis is coming back in December. That's going to be awesome. I love writing that character. He's just so damn crazy. It lets me vent some work hostility. And then I've got, I think, January, February for sure, and then there's another one, if I get it finished, I'll have for March that'll hopefully be another novella. Not related to Modern Taste, but it's definitely something truly wicked that I think everybody will really love. More on brand for me. So
Right.
We got that coming, and since I've been working so much on the Babysitter Massacre books, I haven't really touched my own stuff, like my independent releases under Poverty Row, in a couple of years. I think the last one I did was Independence Day, which was all 4th of July horror. And then before that, I did the literary remake Horror Express from the Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee film. And I wanted to get back into pursuing something similar to that. It's just not in the books right now. But I did decide I'm going to sit down, so I told him, I was like, hey man, I broke down my whole year, like here's what I'm going to finish first, and then I'm going to do this, then we'll work on that, and then I'll send you these, and so right now, like I'm all caught up through October, and I've got my first big project coming up. So one thing I've wanted to do for a couple of years is I have this character who's been sitting on the sidelines, and he's a washed-up film producer. And I want to do this story for him, but at the same time I want the films that are mentioned that he's done to actually have some something concrete to them. So I want to do these books that are, in universe his films. So I'm going to start off that way to kind of introduce people to the character through his own work, basically. So I'm starting that off this year, about 4 chapters in already on this novella called Acid Raptor. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a dinosaur on acid. And, it's a kind of, throwback that I love. I love that 90s cheese. the direct-to-video and made-for-cable horror films were just so damn good. And I'm kind of playing it like that too. I'm going back. This one takes place in 1993. So in universe, there's like, this whole backstory of, like the actors that were involved, why they didn't return. It's like I based the characters around, actors and actresses of the time period. So it kind of gives me that, visual of, who's there, like who would direct this, like would Stuart Gordon touch this one? Is this more of a Brian Yezna film? Worst case scenario, Albert Pine's going to have to do like book 5, but it's like getting to kind of play with the different eras and stuff, and going back and kind of digging into the nostalgia and having fun with that, and at the same time having fun with the different aesthetic styles of the directors and film writers that influenced me for so many years. So like the first book, the main heroine is based off of Jane Seymour, Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. It's like, well, why hasn't she come back for the second one? Well, because Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman was a hit. Shit, she costs too much now. So it's kind of like, that in-universe is like, gives me a little bit more, fun to play with and be like, what's this character doing? Like, why am I going to, or how am I going to utilize them? Am I going to kill them off so they can go get a bigger check somewhere else? Maybe they've got a guest spot on Friends they'd rather be doing. So it gives me a kind of world building in a whole new light that I don't think anybody's ever really tried before.
Well, there's one thing that's I've always been interested in, but I don't know if I'm talented enough to do it, or really have the inner workings to do a screenplay. But it sounds like, from the stories you've written and the way you've worked with Henrik in the past, and he's for the people out there, I've mentioned Henrik in almost every podcast. You know this. He's a director, producer, actor. He fucking does everything. I mean, he from A to Z. But have you ever thought about collaborating with him on some sort of film project, or anyone? If so, what would be a good fit for you?
I recently had somebody reach out about getting a screenplay written, and honestly, I hate the format. My brain's just too active for that, and I can't be like, no, this is how it's supposed to look. Like, I don't need you to do anything. I'll show you how to do it. And it's like I have a hard time just stepping away from that part and being like, okay, here's the basics, here's the dialogue. Like, I want to give you all the details. I want to show you like how cool this is going to be if you just like angle it this way or that. And so I was like, I can't do that. So I'll give you a short story, and you feel free to adapt it. Hire a screenwriter, run it through ChatGTP. I don't care. You want to adapt the story, I'll let you have it. They're an indie, production that's just starting up here in Northwest Arkansas. So, it's like, they ain't money in it anyway. So, it's like, cool, if y'all do something, somebody picks up the rights, Arrow wants to do a Blu-ray or something, they cut me in. But, here's the story. The end goal is to eventually get out of Arkansas, get up to Ohio, and actually get to work with him in person. And then I would love to, like, learn more about it from somebody who's actually doing it. I think that might put it into a better perspective for me. But just to sit down and try to learn it from books and what I read on the internet, what I can see on the internet as far as like tutorials and stuff like that, it's just something that I can't wrap my head around. I'm always open for my stories getting made. I'm just not the guy to write them. But I do everything from a kind of a filmmaker's understanding, or at least my outside view of one. So it's like I watch movies. It's like I'm watching them going, how can I take that angle or that aesthetic and put it into the story? How can I make that into words? So like I try to capture that with like everything that I do, is try to get as close to the people who influenced me and kind of like kept me going, through everything that went wrong in life. It's always, horror movies, especially, were like my safe place to go hide. So I was telling a friend of mine at work the other day, and it's like, when you watch, Chucky, Chucky's the monster. He's going to fucking kill you because he's Chucky. That's what he does, right? Like, you're not surprised when the werewolf eats you. It's like, to me, you can trust monsters. You can't trust people. So, watching in the horror movies, it was always like, it was safe, because those bad guys, like, they didn't hide. They told me they were the bad guy.
Oh yeah.
So like I was never really scared of the monsters in the movies. It was like I see you coming. Um, so they always gave me that shelter that I needed, and being able to go back and watch things like the Puppet Master series, Ticks, Split Second with Rutger Hauer. Those ones that nobody really remembers. Like those were
Right.
the ones that I went back to over and over again because like they were so good. They were like indie films. They were, they were. I always say they were cheap. They were probably still multi-million-dollar films, but they were, they weren't the blockbusters. They weren't,
Right.
the big films from Carpenter or Cameron or anybody like that. So, going back to those is like kind of has more of a smaller feel. It's a more personal film, and those were the ones I kind of gravitate back to more often. Like if I'm having a rough day or whatever, I want to come home and I'm gonna put in, Bad Moon or something from '96, and like those are like, so it's like the writing for me is a chance to kind of like say thank you, even though ain't none of those people could ever notice it. But it's like those films were there for me. So like now I try to take what I saw there and put that into words so that I can hopefully offer that kind of feeling to other people.
Well, I mentioned this in a post the other day because I watched it on Amazon. I was born in 1969, so I'm dating myself. And I was a little kid. This movie came out in 1972, and I watched it in 73 or 74. I was 4 or 5 years old probably, and it was called Gargoyles. And I think you said you need to go back and revisit that. You haven't seen it in 30 years. That movie scared the shit out of me when I was a little boy,
I used
and
to
I got
watch it when I was little.
yeah, I got so much enjoyment out of watching that the other day. I ordered the DVD off of eBay. I said I got to have that in my collection because it brought back such a feeling of nostalgia. And as corny as it was now, and I've seen it a couple times over the years, it still brings back that feeling that you can't get from modern movies. I mean, this thing was made early '70s, and the way they shot things, and it was actually made for TV. It wasn't even like a a big theatrical release, but there's something about those early films, especially from the '70s and '80s, that they capture some kind of magic that can't be replicated now. And it may just be the old man in me talking, but that's kind of the way I feel. I'm not sure if you have the same kind of feelings, but that's what I get when I go back and watch those old horror flicks.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to it. Like even now, like I watch a lot of newer stuff now. It's got its own flavor.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't all appeal to me like they used to. Like like I can go pick a '90s movie and chances are I'm going to enjoy it. Whereas what happened? How do you make the little thingy?
All right, we're back. Can you hear me? It recorded that first part of the session. It uploaded everything, so it's going to be a. Oh, you still there?
Yeah,
All
so,
right, I'm sure you
okay.
guys going to see a quick cut in here. That's okay. We had a little technical issue, but we were talking about old films and how David could go back and watch some of the movies from the '90s, and I talked about Gargoyles. So we're going to continue that discussion right now.
Yeah, so like they just did. I say just did. A few years ago, they did the Puppet Master remake. And it's a good film. I enjoyed it, but even like the Full Moon stuff that's come out as far as that franchise with the Nazi puppet trilogy they did from Axis on, they just don't have the same feel. Yeah, it's like there's something about the stick and rod puppetry that they used in the originals, or like in Gargoyles. But that was Stan Winston's first film, so his work was just like amazing. It didn't matter like what kind of film it ended up being. Look at Predator, obviously his crowning achievement, but you look at some of the other monsters he did, like Leviathan,
Oh yeah.
or the Mabuan or sorry, they call it Cathoga in the movie The Relic.
Yep.
In the book, it was called Mabuan, and the tribe was the Cathoga. But book and movie are completely different in that case. But it's like The Relic's not a great movie, but that monster is fantastic, and it just makes it so much more fun. Just seeing that thing running through the Natural History Museum. It's like you don't really get that with the CG, and like even when they're using like practical effects now, just everything is so glossy, so shiny.
Yeah.
It's just a lot harder to like be immersed in it. I think like for me, like the '90s was always very grunge, not just the music, but just the whole attitude of the '90s was more. Everybody was pissed off. It's like it just wasn't as much fun. Nancy Reagan fucked it up for everybody. We couldn't have the kind of party that they had in the '80s. So like the '90s films all feel dirty and hard and angry, and like I feel like that's a mentality that we could all get behind, especially now. And like all the films are pretty. Like shit. It's like now's the time to make them angry. So it's like I think that kind of gives it more personality, more emotion. Like you could feel more empathic towards those '90s films. Whereas now it's just kind of like, is this really saying something, or is this just a billboard saying something? They have that very corporate look to them all the time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I've enjoyed some of the newer films, enough that I would actually go back and watch. I just saw one. Was it Till Dawn or Till Daylight?
Until Dawn.
Till Dawn, yeah. That one was a lot of fun. Yeah, right there. I've never played the game.
I played the game.
He tells me about it all the time, and I'm like, he's like, yeah, you gotta play this with me. I'm like, dude, my kid stole all my consoles years ago. Like, I ain't got to play anyways. But yeah, I got to watch the movie, and I was like, man, it's still like a really fun movie. It is still glossy. It's still kind of artsy in my opinion, but it's just it's a very fun film. So like they're still out there, and there's still ones that I'll go back and I'll be rewatching for years, I'm sure. It just seems like they're fewer and far between than they were back then, though.
Well, I hate crapping on movies because I know people, even big budget films, people put a lot of work and effort into the craft. But I watched the latest Jurassic World flick, and I was not a fan. I fucking hated it. So much so that I went back and watched the original Jurassic Park. And to your point, there's a night and day difference between the way these films were made. A lot of practical effects in the Spielberg version that just are amazing. The way it's filmed, the way it's shot, the way the actors react. Even the special effects, whether it's practical or CGI, were 1,000 times better 30 fucking years ago than this big dinosaur turd that just came out a couple weeks ago. So yeah, and it had that big glossy polish on it, like you just talked about. And I'm like, I'm glad Scarlett got a payday. I'm happy for her. But other than that,
I think I'm going to see it tomorrow. So like,
good luck.
the only the only fun thing that me and my dad ever did together was went to see all three of the originals in theater. So
I love the first trilogy.
Yeah.
Even
So,
the second movie, a lot of people crap on, but I didn't think it was terrible. But anyway, I digress.
We went to see all of them in theaters. Finn was too young when Jurassic World came out. He was only like I think 2 at the time, so like there's no way he was sitting through it. So he missed out. But I did take my daughter to go see that one, and then he was old enough by the time the second of that trilogy came out. So we've gone to see everyone in theater since they come out. It's to kind of keep the tradition going. So we're gonna go. Plan is tomorrow. We'll see what happens, but yeah, for me it's kind of like. Yeah, I don't even leave the house anymore, really. Like, I go to the gym, I go to work, I come back to the house, clean, work on something, write something. So it's like, I don't drive anymore. It's actually been really great for me in terms of, like, my physical and mental health. So, like, every so often, I'm just like, you know what, screw this, and I'll go walk, like, 5 miles to the nearest super center and just, like, wander in Walmart and be like, this is what the outside world looks like? I forgot. Yeah, nothing's changed, but you know, shit, they got Halloween decorations out. So yeah, it does good for me to get like out of the house, even if it's something mediocre. So I don't have to have high hopes for the film, but it's going to do me some good to get out. I think the last time I went to see a movie was Alien Romulus. So about a year ago.
Yeah.
Made it like the 8-mile hike. I was like, I've never gotten to see just a straight up alien movie in the theater. I've gotten to see Alien versus Predator, but I haven't seen just a regular alien film in theater. I was like, I'm going to see this one. So it took like 8 miles. Like I think it was 110 degrees that day or something. I was just like dying the whole way.
Oh, jeez.
But definitely worth the trip. Called an Uber on the way back. I was like, the hell with this. But yeah, it's like, so yeah, it does be good to get out and, take the kids, go see something. I love sharing movies with them, and we have way different tastes, so it doesn't happen often. My son does really like violent stuff, which is funny because he loves monster lore. So, like, his favorites are the Godzilla movies. He's watched them all. And he's gotten to the point where he'll be watching them. I'm going, Finn, like, if you're not watching your movie, turn it off. Like, you got it running in the background. He's like, I am watching it. He's like, this is, Godzilla 5 or whatever. And I don't even remember the series. I'm like, yeah, but dude, it's in Japanese. He's like, yeah, I know. I already watched it. I read the subtitles once. What the hell? Like,
Japanese that way. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he memorized the subtitles to go with it. He could tell you the difference in every rubber suit that they used. He could tell you the history of Jason, even though he won't watch the movies because they're too violent. But like he'll watch it and he'll be like, "Okay, I can't see this." He'll turn around, and like he's just fascinated by collecting facts, and especially with like horror, the lore is such an important part of so many franchises that he really digs that and getting into that side of it. But it's like, hey, you want to watch this horror movie? He's like, hell no! Like, that's too scary.
Well, my son is similar in one regard as far as horror movies. It's not that they're scary to him, but I tried to get him to watch one with me one day. He was still a little kid, and it was Jeepers Creepers, the first one. And we're sitting there watching, and it's the part where she holds him by the feet, and he's like, in the tunnel trying to look in that shit. You remember that? Yeah. And naturally she's going to drop him, and he slides and falls down. And my son gets off the recliner. He said, "Dad, this is just stupid. Nobody would do that." And he walked back to his room. Who would do that? Really, Dad? Who would do that?
Finn's very logical, so I could see him doing that too. I lived overseas when I was tiny. So my first films that I remember seeing, we had come back to America to renew our visas, and my brother-in-law at the time goes, "You need some culture." So I rented some movies. So he puts in Aliens, Conan the Barbarian, and Friday the 13th Part 5. Those are the first American films I ever saw.
Nice selection.
So that's 5 years old. It's
awesome.
Like, set the tone right there. So when I came back to America, I had like bad separation anxiety and stuff, and my parents gave me a My Buddy doll. And
Chucky came out.
Yeah, I carried that thing with me everywhere. My dad's like, "Man, you're not carrying around a damn doll. Like, what the hell's wrong with you?" I carry my doll everywhere, man. Fuck you. So I'm carrying my doll. My dad's like, goes and rents Child's Play as soon as it comes out on VHS, puts it in, goes, hey, you want to watch a movie about Buddy? You want to watch a My Buddy movie? Well, hell yeah, I want to watch a My Buddy movie. I hop my little ass up on the couch, and he puts it on, and he's thinking, this is going to scare me, and I'm going to stop playing with dolls. The hell no, it made me love my buddy even more, because like now I knew my buddy can come to life and kill people that pick on me. You know, I was like, this is my best friend. You know, I'm gonna lock him in the closet at night when I go to sleep now. But he's my best friend during the day.
So it did not work. Did not work.
No, just like create a really my new Good Guys doll shirt on now. In fact, so but have a very deep love for Chucky as a result.
There you go. All right, well, you've got a lot of things going on, David. One other point I want to touch before we end the podcast. Weekly Spooky has grown by leaps and bounds since it first came around. And, I joined the group a little bit before, I don't know, he may have had 60 or 70 stories on Weekly Spooky just before he hit 100. And now I don't even know what his number is. It's what, like 400 or 500? I don't know what it is now.
I think short stories, I think we're at like 400 and something now.
It's crazy.
Plus, all the extras, the true story ones, and he did he did like a creepypasta thing for a while too. And it's like, so he's got a bunch of bonus episodes too on top of all the stories. I think the last one I remember, one of mine was like 372 or something. So, yeah, there's definitely been a lot. It was like, what is he on? Like year 6 now, I think. So yeah, and one a week for the stories, and then plus all the bonus stuff he does.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to ask you was, he's opened the door for a lot of independent authors and cats like you and I who just want to get a short story out there here and there. Is there an author not named David O'Hanlon? Is there like a new kid on the block with Weekly Spooky that has caught your ear? Just interested, because I've got I've got one I've been touting quite a bit, but he's gotten so much good talent in lately. I'm just interested in what other contributors think, and if you have someone that kind of sticks out for you as of late.
I really like Bruce's stuff. There's especially the last year, I've been falling behind on everybody's stories. Let's say walking all the time. Like I just had to walk through the DMV, so it was like it's a damn 10-mile hike before work. So I got to listen to a lot of stuff, and anytime one of Bruce's is on there, it's like I know I'm gonna be entertained. So I really like his stuff. Of course, like there's the plank holders that have been there forever, like Rob, and like everybody does a good work on there. As far as ones that kind of come on more recently, Bruce definitely stands out to me.
Well, you're echoing my sentiment. I really enjoy Bruce's stuff. That Dirt Baby story had me fucking rolling, man. And I bought the book, and he's writing a sequel, so I can't wait till that comes out.
Yeah, I've got to get into my actual stack of to-read paper books, because I've got a whole bunch here. I got some that I actually ordered right before the fire and didn't even realize I still had them until a couple months ago. I've still got stuff in boxes from that, just because the way things fell with work and everything. This fire was in July. We didn't get our stuff out of storage till November 6th. I didn't get a day off from work until January to start unpacking.
Oh, jeez.
And even then, it was only 4 days. So, kind of putting the whole house back together. So there's still some stuff just randomly, I don't need that right now, so it could stay in the box. So I actually had an Amazon package, and there had never been opened. I found a couple months ago. It's oh shit, I got comics I got to read.
Nice.
So I got those, and of course, so Brad Carter, he has dropped Rats and Virus novelizations. I just finished Rats a couple weeks ago. It's fucking fantastic. If you've seen the film, it takes place over a single night. He makes this whole epic post-apocalyptic saga the way the original writers wanted it to be, and the film is kind of just the back third of the book.
Right.
So he adds in just tons of stuff that like nobody was expecting, and the rats that show up at the end kind of get to be there the whole time. It was a lot of fun. It's just like damn, I want to read right now, but I gotta write like 1,000 words today. Like I have to meet these deadlines.
That's right.
So.
All right. Well, we're getting close to the end of the episode. So, and we've talked a lot about Weekly Spooky and some of the things you've got going on. But I'm going to give you a couple more moments here to plug anything you want. Tell people where they can find you. If you want to specifically talk about Weekly Spooky stories you want people to listen to, or generally promote the product again, feel more than happy to do that.
Yeah, anybody that wants to like reach out, like my Facebook is kind of like just the main thing now. I tried having like branching it out and doing like an author page and stuff. Everybody ends up on my Facebook page eventually, anyway. So it's like I hardly ever update the professional side anymore. It's just like you reach out, just my name on Facebook. I'm always down to talk to anybody. I love getting feedback, good or bad. Like I especially love getting bad reviews. I love getting critiques because those are the ones that are going to make me better. It's like anybody can tell me I did good. Like shit, Mama said I was pretty. She obviously fucking lied. But it's like I want to know the people that like, oh, this was good, but this part sucked. Like that's the part I want. Why did it suck? I need to figure that out so I don't do that again. So it's like I love hearing from people just anytime about my writing, other people's writing. You like, oh, I read your book and it made me think of this movie. I'd love to shoot the shit with you about that. See like your thoughts. I love that kind of conversation. So yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of me. As far as finding my work, Amazon's got pretty much everything I've done. There's a few like anthologies on there still that have some of my really early stuff, so you can see that I did used to actually be more disappointing. So we have those. We have Babysitter Massacre books you can get on Amazon, or you can get on Hinflix. You get a better deal. Help out Hin. And I think he's even doing some signed copies on there for the same price as the Amazon copies. So definitely Hinflix for your Babysitter Massacre. You want to get Horror Express, I would love to get some more reviews on that. It's been out for like 5 years now. It's on Amazon. Independence Day was a hell of a project, and like very few people have given any reviews. I'd love to see that getting some reads. And of course they have the Savage Bees anthology, which was my first attempt at publishing something. And that was a hell of a learning curve. It ended up taking me 2 years to get the damn thing put together. C. Courtney Joyner, famous screenwriter, worked with Charles Band on so many films. Trancers 3, Puppet Master 3, the crown jewel of the franchise, of course. The Lurking Fear. He worked with Mark L. Lester on Class of 1984. He worked on Class of 1989 as well. So yeah, he's done some great projects. He contributed a short story to it, gave me a huge essay for the beginning of it about the history of B movies and his involvement in them. And it's great getting to talk to somebody who, just made so many movies that are a huge part of my childhood. So he was very, very helpful, just with that not just with that project rather, but kind of keeping my head in the game when like it was just piling up and just kicking my ass. It was really cool too, because like when I reached out to him, he's like, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. He's like, or almost 40 years. He's like, this is the first fan letter I've gotten. I'm like, how the hell did you write like Puppet Master 3 and this is the first fan letter, man? What the fuck? So it's like, I just remember that anytime I feel bad about like not getting a review or something, I'm like, man, nobody told C. Courtney Joyner he was kicking ass this whole time. So it's all right. So people are thinking it, whether they're telling me or not. So
that's right.
So yeah, those are the best options for getting the books. There's definitely a lot of them out there. There's going to be a lot more. As far as episodes of Weekly Spooky to check out, I think the ones I'm most like proud of would probably be Jimmy Flavor's Last Days. That was a very personal story. Kind of deals with the concept, or kind of deals with addiction as a concept, and how it's not just what people think it is. So that was a very very important, very special story for me to write. I think it came out great. It's very tongue-in-cheek kind of Tarantino meets Yuzna kind of vibe to it. Then I did Tarnished Gold, which I'd actually forgotten I had written, and it was going through some shit, and that's when he decided to release it. And I was like, dude, I've forgotten I even sent you this. I was like, but man, that's the story I needed to hear today. Like,
Nice.
so yeah, Tarnished Gold, another one that's very in depth for me. Kind of give you a peek inside my psyche. And there's some that are just balls out fun, like the Fun in Funerals about the clowns and their culture and how they would have to have a human sacrifice at a clown funeral. It's just like, that was just fun. Like I didn't sit down to write anything that was going to be meaningful. I sat down to write something that was going to be entertaining, and I feel like I really nailed it with that one, and it's got some of my best dialogue, I think. But those are three that I would highly recommend out of the 15 or so that are on there right now. And of course, from the new series of True Stories, SS Death Lamp is about as batshit insane as I can get, I think. So that one's a definite fun one. Lots of crazy dialogue. Hints that I almost pushed it too far on that one a few times. So, but yeah, I gave myself an interesting challenge on that one because I had a great title, and I was like, how can I make something that zany? That lives up to the title SS Death Lamp, and at the same time, how can I make a character so despicable that you actually hope the Nazis live long enough to kill them first? And I think I nailed that with Evilise. I think that she's just like that perfect level of just crazy bitch that you're like, yeah, I want the bad guy to die, but not just yet. Kill her first. So I think the Evilise really knocks it out of the park with that one, and yeah, it's definitely been I think my favorite of this series so far. But Fortune Falls coming in August. That one's pretty damn good. So, I definitely want to see how people respond to that. It's definitely a new flavor for me.
Well, cool. Well, David, thank you for being on the show. I'm glad you had a lot to talk about, so I didn't have to talk as much, so I appreciate that. I am Charles Campbell. I'm a small town horror author. Technically, my current release is Signature Cut Above. It's about a batshit crazy beautician who does more than cut hair with those scissors. If you can see the little trickle of blood on her lips, it'll give you an idea. But in less than a week, my latest novel called Three Knocks will be available. It is available on the website to order. I have a proof copy. The rest of the books will be here this weekend. But this is how it turned out. So the cover was done by John Stoney Cannon. It has a little creep show vibe. But check it out. It's called Three Knocks, and you can find it on valleyboypublications.com. You can find links to all my social media stuff on that site. One thing I want to talk about with David and my stuff as well on Weekly Spooky, I think there's a search function where you can search by author, and it'll give you their list of stories. So if you want to check out all of David's batshit crazy work, go to weeklyspooky.com, hit the search icon, and type in David O'Hanlon, and it'll give you all his stuff. Or if you have a favorite author from Weekly Spooky, you can do the same. But anyway, thanks again, David, for being on the program. I'll let you say goodbye to the audience, and then I'll sign off.
Yep, thanks for having me out. Hope to be back soon, talk to y'all, and announce the release of some final products.
Awesome. We'll see you next time on Horror 421, the podcast. Take care.